Okay, recording in progress. This is Shannon Kringen, Goddess Kring in Seattle. That's me in 2025 with my left-handed guitar, photographed by Greg Carl, printed onto canvas. I'm probably going to hang this at the Art Not Terminal Gallery. This record reminds me, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, Damn the Torpedoes, reminds me Tom Petty button right here, reminds me to stay true to myself and to not be manipulated by peer pressure. More art, collage, self-portrait with face paint, um, painting and a photo combined digitally, and my non-representational abstract mapping of internal lands artwork. So there's some artwork of mine. Here's something that I did when I was 20 years old that is hand painted in gouache. Camera won't focus, but it's pretty well done and it's a split complement. I think it's a split complement or a tertiary, I don't know. It's a color theory class that I took at Seattle Central Community College after high school. I studied graphic design. So I just wanted to do a little video diary. This is Shannon Kringen. I'm a multimedia artist, a model. I write poetry and I do music. I might try comedy. It is now April 25th, 2025. So 4/25/25, that's an interesting number combination. I'm really grateful for freedom and for individuality and for health. And when I say I'm grateful for individuality, that doesn't mean that I'm into people being selfish. I think that Americans used to appreciate people in the United States of America used to appreciate individuality and freedom, and now we are sort of being trained to think that freedom is dangerous and that if we have freedom, we will obviously be selfish jerks, because some people that are wealthy and powerful are maybe selfish jerks sometimes, maybe even if they're trying to be altruistic or philanthropic. What's the word philanthropist? I know the word philanthropist, but I'm not sure how to say the other version of it. So philanthropic, whatever the word is, that sometimes when somebody is wealthy and powerful, they actually are trying to make the world a better place. And sometimes when somebody is wealthy and powerful, maybe they are just being greedy and they really don't care about 99% of people and they only care about themselves and their 1% class, whatever. I know we all have dealt with witnessing people fight about that and argue about the wealthy people and the regular people. So the 99% versus the 1% and all that. A lot of people have been arguing about that. I will say that I am disturbed by any kind of fascism, totalitarianism, and propaganda. And I've been listening to the guy called Matthias Desmont. I can't remember how you say his name. I got to look that up. But there's a thing called mass psychosis formation or mass. See, I am dyslexic, so I tend to say things backwards. He says, seems like there's no more gray zones allowed. There's no more, like it's polarized. I wrote a poem called Polarized Landscape, Debate Escape, Polarized Landscape, sponsored by fill in the blank, meaning we're not even allowed to have a debate about certain things. People say that the science is settled and people say that it's one extreme or the other. You have to be totally with the red side or totally with the blue side. You're not allowed to be purple. You're not allowed to be green or purple or red or blue, red or blue. You're only allowed to be red or blue. Although there is something about the green part, there is a green party, but I think the Green Party has been hijacked by people who don't really care about the environment. I think that to genetically modify everything does not mean you care about the environment. The fact that Monsanto was sued and they lost because Roundup causes cancer in some people, and that actually was proven to be the case. And then okay, so this guy named Matthias Desmet, it's spelled Mattias Desmet, mass form, mass formation psychosis. I said mass psychosis formation, but what I mean is mass formation psychosis. Um, Links between herd mentality and totalitarianism. This can go in all directions, not just the obvious ones. So sponsored by, see, we are told Americans are protesting fascism. And I agree that I don't want totalitarianism and I don't want fascism. What I'm having trouble with is feeling like people are protesting against those things, falsely being manipulated into thinking that they're protesting against it. See, it's actually really, really clever what's going on right now. I feel like there's multifaceted layers of deception going on. And like the movie 1980, well, like the book 1984 and Brave New World, it's like sometimes when something is sponsored by the mass media, sponsored by for corporate profit news media, some of the mainstream news I think is propaganda and some of it is true investigative journalism sometimes when those whistleblowers and trailblazers, but we all know what happens to whistleblowers and trailblazers. They get ostracized, belittled, canceled, and sometimes they suddenly end up no longer alive. And you wonder, was that a natural passing or was there something fishy going on there? And then we're supposed to think that that's just a crazy conspiracy theory. If you think that somebody who suddenly is no longer on the planet anymore and passes away, it's natural causes. It's not always the case. And yet we're supposed to think it's paranoid and delusional to question these things. And so I personally do not have the courage to be a whistleblower and as much of a trailblazer as I wish that I could be. And I'm not here to do that. But I'm really pretty scared about doing that. But I will say that I feel like I'm walking on eggshells and I have to have a poker face a lot of the time. I feel like there's people arguing about what is true and what is false, what is propaganda, what is manipulation. I do not like, I do like ethics and the Hippocratic Oath in medicine. I don't like that the pharmaceutical companies have been given no liability. And some people think it's because they don't want frivolous lawsuits. You don't want to have frivolous lawsuits against certain corporations that perhaps care more about being right and being an authority. It's kind of like a fast food restaurant who hires a consulting firm to test to see if their food is healthy. Do you think that fast food restaurant food is healthy? Because I don't. Do you think that vegetable oil, flour, and sugar is healthy and nutritionally balanced? I don't. Well, the equivalent would be certain aspects of mainstream medicine we are told are healthy and good for our health when we know that our medical system is based on profit, and we know that some people think it's good to genetically modify food and inject chemicals and artificial flavors and colors and eat fake meat that is in a box full of garbage ingredients, and we're supposed to think it's clean to eat vegan. I would agree that real fruit, real vegetables, real nuts, real seeds. I'm not a fan of whole grain. I don't eat grain because it's drenched in glyphosate and other pesticides and chemicals. Also, it's high on the glycemic index, so it's not good for your blood sugar to eat lots of whole grains. But I'm only speaking for myself because I'm not allowed to criticize mainstream medicine. And when I say that, I'm allowed to say whatever I want. I can't give medical advice because I don't have a degree. But let me just say that sometimes when you listen to what actual doctors say, it's wrong. To tell somebody who has type 2 diabetes to eat plenty of whole grains, which raises your blood sugar, seems a little bit counterproductive to your high blood sugar problem and your insulin problem. I've done research on low carb eating, on so I'm not here to give you nutritional advice, but I'm here to acknowledge my frustration about the polarization, about how people think it's either one thing or the other. You either totally trust mainstream medicine or you think they're a bunch of quacks or propagandists that are just trying to sell you snake oil. See, they want you to think that some of the mainstream medical people want you to think that any natural remedy, any like nutrition or like forest bathing, if you go out in nature, I don't need a scientific study to tell me, sponsored by corporations that make money from manufacturing chemicals. And I'm not saying that some chemicals don't help people. Some surgery, medications, and injections have helped people, and some of that stuff has harmed people. And sometimes when people think they can just take an herb and heal themselves, they are wrong. Other times, when you eat a certain way and you get more exercise and you get natural sunlight, water, food, natural remedies that some people make fun of, sometimes natural remedies are healthier and better and they can complement the mainstream medicine. So I'm not totally against mainstream medicine, but I'm very skeptical of certain aspects of it. And what makes me angry and sad, and I feel so isolated and alone, in my opinion, because people make fun of people who question mainstream media sponsored by large corporations that make money from keeping the ratings high. So I think that there are some really well-meaning people who are protesting against fascism and against totalitarianism and against the oligarchy or whatever you call it. People are protesting against that. And I agree with the idea and the principle that we fight for, yes, for ethics, yes, for actual democracy, yes, for ethical democracy. I would not say pseudo, some of the democracy, when you force people to do something, that's not democracy. And if you say, well, it's only for your health that we're forcing you to do this, and by the way, you're not allowed to work or make money unless you go along with what large pharmaceutical companies say, that is a form of totalitarianism. That is a form of abuse of power. That is abuse of power, especially when companies have no liability. So I am having trouble with some of the Hippocratic oath not being followed. And then I'm thinking of Plato's The Cave, you know, that story about the cave, when some people are seeing shadows on the wall and they think that's real. And then a couple of the people in the cave have the guts to actually go outside the cave and go, oh my gosh, those are just shadows on the wall. If you go out there, you see the whole big world, and it's totally not what we thought. So I feel like people are being fooled. And I feel like there are people and I can't prove anything I'm saying to you. And that's another thing. It's like, I'm not here to prove anything to you. I'm just here to, what is this video for? The point of this video on 4/25/25 by Shannon Kringen in Seattle, Washington, is to express the discomfort I feel. This is for anybody who can relate to what I'm saying. How uncomfortable it is to feel like I've always been kind of an outsider and kind of a loner, never really been a joiner in terms of conforming. Um, I appreciate people's individuality, and that doesn't mean I think people are selfish. I don't think that being an individual is selfish. We literally are individuals, but we can cooperate and we can join together. But if joining together means that we lose our individuality and we just march to the meat grinder, you know the movie Pink Floyd, The Wall? Have you ever seen that movie? I feel like there's lots of well-meaning people that think they are rebelling against the corrupt system, and yet they are walking into a trap. They are marching to the meat grinder of conforming to thinking that they're being good activists and fighting against what's corrupt, not realizing that they are being tricked into giving the illusion like of pseudo democracy, the illusion that we're protesting and we're going to like win for justice and ethics, when really things have been hijacked by people. I feel like parts of the pharmaceutical industry and parts of the mainstream medical industry are similar to what is called the mafia. And I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, and I hope this video isn't flagged. I guess I'll find out. I don't know if I use words like that, but when somebody has a lot of power and they're making a lot of money and they absolutely refuse, you get accused of spreading the wrong information, misinformation. You get accused of spreading the wrong information if you say the wrong thing, and yet we're supposed to have free speech. We don't have free speech at all in America anymore. We used to, maybe. And not that I think people should go around and saying horrible, rude things to each other. I don't believe in that. But I do believe in the freedom to question what large pharmaceutical companies are doing, question pesticide, the chemical industry, the genetically modifying of things industry. They are now finally starting to admit that they do have technology that can tinker with the sky and the clouds. There is something called cloud seeding. There is something called, they have been, the military has been doing experiments. See, maybe I shouldn't be saying any of this into the camera. Like, these are the things that I'm thinking about. Like, and people would accuse me, and here's my real eyes, by the way, my real eyes. I'm a real human being. I just need to do my art and build bridges with people. But I just feel like a lot of times I'm walking on eggshells and I'm doing like a poker face um, with people who assume that I agree with all of their opinions. And yet I feel like the environmental movement has been hijacked by people who don't really care about nature, and they want to scare people and weaponize things that used to be natural. So I don't think everything happening in the world is natural. And I feel like the planet Earth is changing in certain ways because of human impact, but I think also the technology, I think some of the human technology is being used in ways in medicine and in the environmental movement in ways that I think is not good for the survival of humanity. And we're told that it's all because of certain natural things happening. I think it's both. I see that's the thing. I don't think it's one or the other. I think some of the politicians that nobody is supposed to like right now, except for the people apparently that think that they're 100% like okay, I think that the people that 100% believe that those people in charge can do no wrong, I think that's delusional. I think that the people that think that the people in charge are 100% wrong about everything is also delusional. I think that extreme opinions, I think that in terms of what's happening with the air and the water and the sky and the planet Earth, I think that that is a combination of things. I think the truth, if you're an actual truth seeker, I like to think myself as a truth seeker. I might be wrong though, you know, but I think the truth is more nuanced. I think in some ways mainstream medicine helps people, in some ways mainstream medicine has harmed people. There's people who argue about whether certain things in medicine are nefarious and intentionally designed to sort of weed the garden, as you say. And then you think about Germany in World War II. Some of the things that happened were medical experiments. Some of the medical experiment phase of the creepiness that happened there, there's creepy things. We all know throughout history, people have done creepy things to each other. Sometimes there are experiments in medicine which may or may not be, some are nefarious. Some maybe have good intentions of just seeing what happens to people when you do certain things to certain people. It's kind of creepy. And so to not be aware of this, but then I can see why people want to not be aware of this seems ridiculous to me. It seems very naive to me to think that things are as simple as some of the people that are protesting think that it's simple black and white. I don't think it is. I think that there are layers of deception, layers of corruption, and I can't prove any of this. So the point of this video is not for me to convince anybody to change their mind about anything. It's just me expressing the challenge I have as a human being on planet Earth. I'm just one tiny little human being on this planet, and I'm feeling like, where do I belong in terms of there are friends that I agree with. There are friends that I don't agree with. There are some people in my life agree to disagree with me. Some people in my life get very mad at me when I say what I really think, and they think I'm delusional or just wrong. And they get very angry with me. And I've had friendships that have not really survived very well through some of this polarization. I would say there is a mass psychosis formation, whatever the heck that thing is called, where people get so stressed out that they want to cling on to an ideology and they want to cling on to, see, I don't feel safe when I do that because it feels fake. I can't do that. I can't. Okay, what do I believe in? I believe in ethics. I believe in cooperative individuality. I think that when humans get jealous and competitive with each other, it can get nasty. And when people want to prove one person wrong so they can be right, I think that's a game of the ego. But I also think that humans have a psychological need to feel safe and feel like they can trust some kind of authority. I personally do not trust most authority. And that's very uncomfortable. It is very uncomfortable to figure out, who do I trust? What do I trust? Do I trust myself? I don't feel like people are being encouraged to trust themselves. And I think that some Americans are being taught to think being an individual is selfish and greedy, and that we're selfish and greedy, and that we need to just do whatever the government tells us. And I mean the part of the government that we agree with. The parts of the government that we agree with, we're supposed to just shut up and do what they say. And then the parts of the government that we don't agree with, we're supposed to fight against. We're supposed to march in the streets and protest that. Okay, that's fine. The idea that we can protest is a good thing. The thing is, again, I feel like there's a deception happening. I feel like the environmental movement, the pharmaceutical industry, the medical system, different things like this have been hijacked by people who are not ethical and not honest. And so then you wonder, what's really the elephant in the room? What is the emperor has no clothes? Okay, well, but what layer of that is that? You know what I mean? Like the most obvious thing about what's being okay, there's people that I admire that are being smeared, and then there's people that I don't like who are being glorified. So it's like politicians are usually either treated like a hero or a villain. There's not much in between. It's like a Hollywood movie. It's like that's not real life. Real life is more complicated than that. Real life is nuanced. And I'm seeing people post a bunch of memes and stuff on social media, and they're glorifying what some people say and then demonizing what other people say, and there's no nuance to it. There's no nuance at all. And people just make fun of and belittle each other, whether they're on the red or the blue side, or they're independent, or what do you call libertarian. I think I'm a little bit of a libertarian sometimes, but I don't really fit into that box either. I believe in democracy, but I believe in ethics, and I believe in not being a hypocrite. So if red people stereotype blue people and blue people stereotype red people, and we assume that somebody is a certain kind of person that is mean and horrible, even if we haven't really talked to that person, that is not a good thing. People encourage each other to, like, we're supposed to not stereotype each other, correct? But I'm witnessing very smart people with master's degrees. I don't even have a master's degree. I have a master's degree. I have a bachelor's degree, but who cares? I don't care if somebody has a master's degree, a bachelor's degree, no degree. If someone's intelligent, they're intelligent, whether they have a formal education or they're self-taught. I don't judge people like that. So I've always felt like I straddle in between. I'm not red, I'm not blue. I lean in the blue direction, but I don't believe that money should be wasted. I believe that sometimes liberal people say these amazing things that sound great, and then a lot of the money gets wasted and not really used for good. It's just to talk about how good we are. And then is it really used to do the good things that they say it's used for? So wastefulness, pretending like you're doing something good and then you're not really doing something good. That's the part that I don't like. But then there's this like, the more conservative people are more like, um, uh, pull yourself up by your bootstraps and, be independent and strong and be your entrepreneur, make a lot of money and don't need help from anybody. I'm not into that either. I'm not into the tough love thing. I'm not into the extreme, but I'm not into judging people for being more conservative. Like if a liberal person judges a more conservative person and makes assumptions about them that are very negative, that's a stereotype. And then if a conservative person judges a liberal person and assumes all kinds of negative things, then that's also ridiculous. So I'm witnessing people do it on both directions. Even though I lean in the more liberal side, I am not so liberal that I will not question the hypocrisy happening. So I think there's some hypocrisy happening. I'm intentionally being vague. I feel like I'm nervous to even record this video. So I just don't like hypocrisy. I like ethics. And I just feel like I never really wanted to join a group anyway. Like I wrote that poem, a group for loner, oxymorons through the door, a group for loners, and they all showed up. So I'm just feeling uncomfortable. So I need to do my artwork. I've got a canvas behind me. I got my tattoo that means be yourself no matter what they say. I need to follow my own advice. Be yourself no matter what they say. So even if other people don't understand me, I feel like I have been gaslit. Other people have been gaslit. I'm really upset about people gaslighting each other, whether it's me or somebody else being gaslit. I don't like it. Um, I don't like it when people make fun of each other. I don't like it when people stereotype each other and make assumptions about each other. I think there are some more conservative people who are live and let live, and they respect privacy of people being different. And then there are other people who want to push their agenda on other people. But then there's also liberal people who think everyone has to be vegan, or they think everybody has to, like if a liberal person tries to preach to everybody and tell them all how they have to be, that is as absurd as a more conservative person that tells everybody they have to be Christian or everybody has to be whatever. I don't think that red or blue should be stereotyping and trying to force each other to be a certain way. And I think it happens in both directions. Um, but I'm only supposed to think it happens in one direction, but I'm seeing it happen in both of those directions. And then I also see people that are actually ethical and respect each other's individuality. There are people who respect each other's differences. I'm willing to be friends with somebody who does not have the same opinions of me, as long as they can respect that I have a different way of seeing it. I can be friends with somebody who is decent, who is has empathy, who is respectful. And if somebody isn't respectful, I don't have to be friends with them. I don't have to hang out with them, but I also don't have to scream at them or say abusive things about them. I'm witnessing people be really cruel to each other and stereotype each other and buy into fear about who the other kind of person is. And I feel like, honestly, that is a distraction. When regular civilian people, whether they're red or blue or libertarian or green or purple or whatever party they're from, whatever like religion, whether they're atheist or religious or Buddhist or Christian or Muslim or Jewish or non-denominational or spiritual. I'd like to think I'm kind of a spiritual person that believes in wisdom. Um, I don't really fit into any category in terms of because I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual. But then I believe in nature, and I believe that in the creative power of nature and consciousness, and that we're all creating this together. And I'm okay with people having more dogmatic religious beliefs as long as they don't force that upon me. And I know sometimes people use religion to force people, which is a contradiction, which isn't wisdom at all. So that's, but I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. There are aspects I'm interested in wisdom, whether somebody is an atheist or religious, if they have wisdom to share. I think Deepak Chopra has a lot of wisdom to share, and he's not really dogmatic about it. I think Wayne Dyer, rest in peace, Wayne Dyer, I think he had a lot of wisdom to say. I think that Ram Dass and Joseph Campbell also had a lot of wisdom to share. And Martha Graham, the choreographer, said that, your individuality is very powerful and the world won't have it unless you acknowledge it. And it's the job of an artist to appreciate their individuality and use it for creative expression, and that the world won't have it unless you do that. And I think that Meryl Streep, the actress, said if she didn't bring these characters to life, like she feels like an obligation to bring these characters to life and give them a voice, give these souls a voice. Um, So I'm mostly an artist and a little bit of a philosophical kind of person, but I just wanted to just vent a little bit and say that I find it very uncomfortable to feel like I'm walking on eggshells and like I'm witnessing people be very cruel to each other, and it's frightening. And then I'm trying to have empathy for people who I don't agree with, whether they're conservative or liberal. I found myself disagreeing with both some conservative people and some liberal people. And I don't like to put everybody in a box though, but and then I agree with, I've heard some more conservative people talk. I listened to somebody talk and I agreed with what they were saying. And I was like, oh, they're more conservative than I thought. And yet I agree with some of what they're saying. And then there's more liberal people that I agree with. So it depends on the person. It depends. But if they're respectful of each other's differences and they don't stereotype other people, that's a good thing. And if they acknowledge the hypocrisy, hey, that's a good thing too. I like people who acknowledge hypocrisy and can look at their own shadow instead of just blaming other people all the time and using everyone else as a scapegoat. So I feel like it is distracting from the powers that be if civilians are arguing with each other and creating a lot of drama with each other, and that the news media is helping perpetuate this. I don't think people realize that there are some investigative journalists in the world. There are also some people that are trying to just create high ratings for TV shows, and news, to some extent is like reality TV. Reality TV is not very real, as we know. So some of the news shows are now like reality TV, and I have culture shock when I watch some of the mainstream news shows. I feel like I don't watch a lot of that stuff. When I'm at somebody's house and I see it, it just feels like foreign to me. It doesn't feel like I'm an American citizen and I have a passport here and all that, but I feel like there's something really fake about a lot of media. And it's like they're trying to sell me an idea, literally sell me products that I don't want to eat. I mean, I went into the grocery store today to pick something up, and I was happy to pick it up and I was grateful, for this store, but I found it kind of disgusting and sad that almost all the food on the shelves that I was looking at, like all the outside perimeter of the grocery store, is just filled with basically just sugar products in like processed junk food that's in bags and boxes, that is just mostly vegetable oil, seed oils, healthy, but not really. Um, Seed oil, flour, and sugar. People like live on seed oil, flour, and sugar, which is really not good for your health. And it was sad to see that. And then the real food, which tends to be more expensive than the fake food, is more in the center, like hidden away in the grocery store, harder to find. But the out perimeter is the most addictive food. The high carb, sugar, flour, and vegetable oil, and artificial flavors and artificial colors and flavor enhancements and all the stuff that people love to eat that's really not good for your health. And hey, if you want to eat a bunch of junk food that's not good for you, hey, do whatever you want. It's your choice, your body, your choice. But I find it kind of gross and sad that our culture is, or, some of the grocery stores are just filled mostly with just junk food that is not even nutritious at all. And it's sad. And I mostly eat meat and fruit and vegetables and nuts, and I don't eat a lot of grains. Wheat is not good for my thyroid, but that's my own personal thing. I'm not giving you any advice, but going getting wheat out of my diet helped my health. So yeah. And I worked with my doctor on that a little bit, but I don't totally agree with some of the things that my doctor tells me. And I wish that I had a different doctor sometimes. And yet I agree with some of what she says, and I don't agree with some of what she says. And she thinks I'm wrong. And I think she's wrong about things, and she thinks I'm wrong about things. But hey, she's got the degree, and I'm just a regular person, but I'm intelligent and I have wisdom. And I did actually call up and have one person acknowledged to me that, yeah, our medical system is a bit like the military. I mean, in a negative way. There's good things about the military, but there's also negative things. Like when you're just following orders, even if something doesn't make sense and it's not human, and we're treating each other like machines. We are machines. We are robots. We are machines. If you're just following orders, you know what? In Germany, World War II, they were just following orders when they did really horrible things. And sometimes in medicine, they're just following orders. And I'm not saying it's as bad as what I just said in Germany, but what I'm saying is when somebody just goes through the motions of following the rules, there's collateral damage sometimes. That's all I'm saying about that. So, for instance, some of the companies, health insurance companies have this policy where you have to get x-rays twice. So the human is exposed to radiation x-rays twice because the insurance wants two different sets of x-rays. One is for something and one is for something else. That exposes, not only does that wastes money, that wastes time, that wastes money, that exposes the person to more radiation, and it keeps people like it just wastes time, it wastes resources, and it's not good for the person's health. So I have a problem with that, with rules like that. Like in the dentist, they used to let you get x-rays and cleaning on the same day. I guess they want to x-ray you first, make sure there's nothing really wrong with your mouth before they clean your mouth. That's probably why they do that. I hope that's not just stupid red tape, just following orders in a negative way that's not helpful, that just waste time and money and resources. So some of these rules I think are not good. But then again, I don't want to be in charge of making up all these rules. I don't want to work in the government, that's for sure. I've never wanted to run for office ever in my life. I've never wanted to be a doctor, a lawyer, or a politician ever. I'm an artist. I'm a philosophical person and an artist. I'm just talking about the psychological self-awareness of how uncomfortable it is to be around people who I think are scapegoating and gaslighting other people and being hypocrites and saying these people over here are the bad people and we're the good people and those people are the bad people. But like that's how war is perpetuated, is that each side they go, oh no, those are the bad people. We're the good people and those are the bad people. Oh no, I'm the bad person and there's the good person. It's like it's just like humans playing this like pecking order game. And then when regular civilians are arguing with each other, it's distracting us from looking at who's really in charge here. Like I think some of the powers that be are behind the scenes. And but you know, how I can't prove that to you. I can't prove that. And so and yet I have this awareness and I don't need you to validate me, whoever you are listening. I'm gonna listen to this video and learn from it. Okay, Shannon Kringen, learn from this. And then I watched the Val Kilmer documentary last night and I loved it so much. And then I'm thinking that somebody close to me said, who are you talking to? And then you could say that about the Val Kilmer documentary. Who is he talking to? He made videos of himself. Him and his brothers, when they were kids, made these amazing like videos where they were acting and doing skits. You know, they made their own movies, and it's beautiful, and it's so touching because Val Kilmer's no longer with us. Rest in peace, you beautiful actor Val Kilmer. I really appreciate your contribution to the acting world and the movie world, the you know the world of acting, the world of movie making and acting. I appreciate a lot of your acting and especially love you in the Doors movie. May you rest in peace, Val Kilmer, and thank you for making the movie. It's called Val, and it's filled with and his beautiful Mark Twain, his one-man show being Mark Twain, and his accent and his makeup and his just beautiful and all of the heartbreaking things that he went through mixed with all the wonderful. His life was magical. He said in the film, I've led a magical life. And it's true, he led a magical life. And yet the movie, I love that it doesn't totally glorify everything about him. It shows the sad parts of his life, that he had throat cancer and he his wife served him divorce papers when he was on a movie set, and you know, just tragic sad things and mixed with happy things. And then he was asked to be in the Batman movie, and it's a synchronicity that he was in Africa with his son in literally exploring a bat cave when his agent called him and said, hey, would you like to be in the next Batman movie? And then he was in the Batman movie, but apparently he didn't really have a lot of fun doing that, and yet he was grateful to be in it. So he acknowledges how fortunate he was to have a career, and he's one of the youngest people that was accepted into Juilliard right out of high school. And also his brother died from what an his brother that he loved very much died at the age of 15, um, drowned in the family's hot tub or something because he had an epileptic seizure. And that's a really sad thing that was really heartbreaking to him. And so he juxtaposition he juxtap I like the honesty, the humanity of it. That's what it is. I like the open humanity because there are people who dehumanize actors who are famous. Like just because somebody is really handsome or beautiful and they're rich and famous and they're in Hollywood and they're in all these movies, wait a minute, they're a real person. And part of why they got into this acting thing, I mean, I can't speak for all actors, but the actors that I really admire and feel moved by are the ones who really want to express from the heart and be really human on screen and move people and touch people emotionally and help people feel more connected. I think it was Sean Penn who said that movies should move us and inspire us. And when we leave the theater, we should feel inspired in our own personal lives like we can take something good away from the movie with us, not that we're just jealous of beautiful people on the screen that are in Hollywood that look perfect or whatever. Like not some kind of shallow, like I don't know, just like something with a heart and soul or something, really moving, something artistically moving or spiritually, emotionally, mentally, physically, whatever, on whatever level. Sometimes a good comedy is also great. It's good for people to laugh. It's good for people to remember to laugh and have a sense of humor. And I related to the Val Kilmer documentary. If I ever make a documentary about the Goddess Kring TV show, I would like it to be similar to that because he took clips. I don't have any clips. I wish I had clips of my girlfriends and I doing skits and plays in front of our family. When we were 11, we used to do we acted. We would invent stories and act them out in front of our family and our friends. And we had little music shows. And in my living room, I had music shows. And then on my friend's back deck, we did skits and plays. And in high school, I lip synced Mick Jagger and danced around like Mick Jagger to the song, the Rolling Stones song, She's So Cold, in front of my whole high school. And I was very shy in high school. So my whole high school was shocked by me doing that. We thought Shannon was shy, but I guess not. So that was the funnest thing I ever did in high school. And I was in a few plays. I don't have any video of that. I have some cute childhood pictures, but Val Kilmer has all these great films of him and his brothers doing skits. And then he has clips of all of the movie sets that he was on. He has like Marlon Brando that he worked with on a film that didn't really turn out that well. The Island of Dr. Moreau. I forgot what it's called, but it was kind of an interesting movie, but it just didn't quite work. And they had like one director quit, and then they had another director, and then he almost quit, and then they finished the movie, and it just didn't turn out as well as everyone had hoped. But it was an interesting movie. I don't really remember it very well. I just remember Marlon Brando was in it, and Val Kilmer was all excited to work with Marlon Brando, and they sort of became friends a little bit on the set at least. And then Val Kilmer, when his career was first starting, he was in a play and not in Hollywood, in New York. He was cast in a play, and he got the lead part. And then he found out that Kevin Bacon, and this was when Kevin Bacon and Sean Penn's careers were also just starting to take off in the early 80s. And the director said, "Hey, Val, you're still in the play, but we want you to play this other part because now Kevin Bacon and Sean Penn are going to play the two main parts, and you're just going to play a smaller part." And then he's like, "Okay." And then he did it, but he said it was kind of humiliating and sad because he was the butt of every joke in the play. But then again, he said, "I'm an actor, so I'll do the acting that they want me to do." So it's kind of like what I liked about the Val Kilmer movie is and then The Doors. I love the Doors movie, but he acknowledges the good parts of his life and the amazing good fortune he had of having a career. But then again, he really created his own career with his own work. But he acknowledges the heartbreak in life and the sad parts of life. And so he's very vulnerable in the movie. He shows the dark side and the light side of himself. And it's interesting. And he explores the difference between the real him and the character he's playing, and his real life and his acting life kind of blended and blurred together. He said when he played Jim Morrison in the Doors, it drove his wife nuts because he was acting like Jim Morrison 24 hours a day, and um, she just wanted him to be Val and be her husband and be the husband, and yet he wanted to just be Jim Morrison all the time because he was really into his role. And that was psychologically hard for her, I guess, as well as physically. So that's interesting. I have a feeling if I was an actor in that way, I might get carried away as well. And so you got to watch out if you're playing a character that is doing dangerous things. You got to watch out if you get psychologically too much into your character. I guess that could maybe not be good for your mental health. So he kind of acknowledged that without actually saying it like that. He kind of hints around at that. He's very sensitive, emotional, sensitive, creative person. I love his sense of humor. I love his visual art that's in the movie about the Val documentary. There's clips of him from the past, and then there's juxtaposition of him talking because he has throat cancer through the voice box, and so his voice sounds very strange, but I kind of like how it sounded. And he's very vulnerable and he's still very handsome, just very handsome. His whole life he was very handsome, very beautiful person, and a heart and soul, and just physically a handsome guy, but also just his personality. Like when I look at the way somebody looks, I might like the way they look, but it's deeper than that. It's more like the personality, the soul, the energy of the person, and the synchronicity between the connection to New Mexico between Jim Morrison and the real Val Kilmer. It was interesting. And then the turquoise jewelry. And if you watch the film, you'll know what I mean. Like there's all these interesting things, which makes me think of Tom Petty and all the synchronicity in his life. And it makes me think of the synchronicity in my life, all of the things that have worked out and happened for me. Some magical things have happened that make me feel like things are meant to be. Like as complicated and weird as my schedule is, sometimes things just fall into place and I feel like for instance, I have this really nice landlord and I've lived in this apartment for 10 years and I'm very, very blessed in that way. And my landlord needed to repaint my kit my not my bathroom, not my kitchen. My landlord needed to repaint my bathroom. And I can't remember why, but there was something and he had to repair something and then the paint was all messed up and he's like, "Well, I guess I should just repaint your bathroom. Is there a certain color you would want?" Because I don't have to do just white. I can just do a different color if you want. Because it used to be a dark gray color. And I said, I love bright green. And I was just partly joking because I really do love bright green. And he's like, Are you kidding? He said, I have in the shed, I have bright green paint that I got for free at the paint store to give away. Somebody gave him free paint, bright green, kind of like a green screen kind of thing. Really bright, obnoxious green, which I love that color. I love bright green. And he's like, Are you sure you like this color? Because I thought I would never use this paint. This bright green paint somebody gave me, I thought I'll never use it or just use it for an art project or something. And I said, Yes. And so my bathroom is painted bright green. So how many landlords and renters agree, oh yeah, let's paint your bathroom bright green? It made me think, okay, I think I'm meant to live in this building with this landlord because he thought it was funny and I thought it was funny. And hey, my bathroom is bright green. Not that everything is perfect about where I live, but hey, that's just one thing that kind of fell into place and made me think I'm on the right path or whatever. And then there's other synchronicities that happen with art modeling and pet sitting and dog walking and medical modeling and people that I've met and just weird coincidences and running into people that I hadn't seen in 20 years and just going to San Diego and seeing the Naked and Ashes documentary, which I found out that my friend in San Diego had basically, I knew one of the actors that was a narrator in that film, Ismail Bashi from India. He was a narrator in that film, and I was in San Diego to visit him in LA. And then my other friend wanted to go to that movie, and then I saw that movie because of a third friend. So there was like three different friends involved, and then I saw the movie Naked and Ashes, and it just made me feel like that was all meant to be. I mean, nothing amazing happened, but it just felt like my three different friends that don't even know each other. I have three different friends that none of them know each other. I know all of them, but they don't know each other. They have nothing to do with each other except for two of them live in San Diego and one of them lives in LA. And then the movie Naked and Ashes. It was just weird how that all happened. And then one time I was volunteering somewhere out in nature and an art model person hired me to pet sit for them. So it's like my volunteering in nature and my art modeling and my pet sitting all intersected in an amazing way. And it was like, this is meant to be. And the Val Kilmer movie, there's a few different things that happen that are sad, but there's a few different things that happen that are magically happy and wonderful that made me feel like, yeah, I think Val was on his path. He was doing what he was supposed to be doing. It's like his soul was here to do what he did. And then Jim Morrison, when he found out Oliver Stone was casting for The Doors, he's like, I have to have this part. He just absolutely needed that part. He felt just connected to Jim Morrison in that way, and like he could really do that part as a good actor. So he immediately started learning how to sing and imitate Jim Morrison's mannerisms and the way he stood, walked and talked, and he watched videos of Jim and imitated him. And then in the movie, in the Val Kilmer documentary, Val, you see his audition tape that he sent to the producers, and they were very impressed. And I don't even know if they made him audition, but he said he sent them his home movie tapes that he made himself, being Jim Morrison, singing and talking and walking. And they were so impressed that they booked him for that role. But the thing is, he might have had to audition. I don't know. He didn't say. He didn't say if he had to audition or not. But I just think that's really cool that he took it in his own, like not all actors will do that. Some actors will just wait and audition or wait until they're called or whatever. or just hint around with their agent to try to get the part instead of taking the initiative. And he did, and Val Kilmer did that a few other roles too. He sent tapes to people uh, of himself acting like pretending to be a mafia person or something, and he sent that to, was it Scorsese or somebody like that? I don't know who, but and that didn't work. Like sometimes he would make things and send them to directors, and they were like, I don't think you're right for the part, whatever. And so that didn't work. But at least he tried. Like he had the passion to do that, the initiative. Like Billy Bob Thornton, when his career was flailing and he was just barely surviving. Literally, I think at one point he was just practically starving, like had no money and was barely could afford to eat and living in LA and trying to be an actor. He wrote a one-man show and he paid his own money and rented out a theater in LA, invited everybody he knew in the industry, agents, actors, whoever, everybody in the industry that he knew. He invited them, and somebody saw his one-man show and then was like, wow, this guy is talented. He wrote, directed, and starred in his own one-man show, and they were impressed with it to the point where that helped him get a better agent, or I don't know if he was looking for an agent, but because he rented out his own, he paid his own money to rent a theater and do a one man. He needed to get himself to stand out from all the other actors in Hollywood because he's also a writer and a director and an actor with talent and charisma and charm and all that. And so he took the initiative to do that. And then um, somebody noticed his talent and took him under his wing, and they developed the Sling Blade screenplay. Like that led to him writing I think he had the character in that one man show that became, was it Carl? What's the name of the character in Sling Blade that Billy Bob Thornton plays? But I think he turned that into, that character was expanded, his one man show character was expanded into the screenplay for Sling Blade, which is a great movie. So, yeah, great movie. So there. Okay, so I just wanted to ramble on about that. So, okay, I got that off my chest. So I just want to stay awake and alert and try to figure out how I can build bridges and not be too fake with people and just acknowledge that I find it uncomfortable when I think people are being tricked into going along with certain propaganda, but they think that the propaganda is over here. And I think, I think there's a whole nother layer of propaganda over here. It's like there's propaganda here, then there's another layer of propaganda down here, and then maybe there's a little truth, little truth here and there, and things are fake and things are true, and there's propaganda here and there's propaganda there, and there's fascism here and there's totalitarianism here, and then there's real democracy over here, and then there's ethics over here. It's like it's all just a swirling mass. It's total chaos right now, I think, my opinion. So there's scapegoats and hypocrisy, and I feel like I'm walking on eggshells, and then I feel like I want to be diplomatic and have empathy for everybody, whether I agree with them or not. And that's all I wanted to say. Bye for now. Thanks for listening. Bye for now. And feel free to ask me questions or comments. That's fine too.